Capital One is making moves in the credit card game right now, and what they're doing could spell a future of Capital One's success. Now, if you don't know my personal credit card journey, I have both the Capital One Venture Card and the Capital One Saver Card, and I'm planning on either canceling or downgrading my Venture Card and kind of fully exiting Capital One. But with some of the changes they've been making, it's making me rethink that strategy just a little bit. Now, the reason why I am reconsidering my Capital One strategy, let's go back a few months. Back in May of 2025, Capital One and Discover officially merged. So Capital One has their Venture Cards, their Saver Card, their Quicksilver Card, a lot of for good credit cards, kind of seen as a subprime lender, merged with Discover, whose most popular credit card and what they're known for is the Discover It card. Basically a 5% rotating category card, one of the best beginner credit cards out there. Now, there had been a lot of discussion what Capital One would do with Discover, but a lot of people kind of realized was that, hey, Capital One is going to start slowly moving all of their cards to the Discover network. The reason why American Express is so successful is that because they have their own pay issuer, they're not, giving Visa or MasterCard a cut of the revenue. I won't go too deep into the minutia of how that works, but let's just say Amex is making a ton of money by having American Express be the one processing the payment over Visa and MasterCard. So someone like Chase or Citi, they're dishing out a little bit of a fee to Visa or MasterCard for every single swipe. So Capital One wants in on that gravy train, and they bought Discover. So what are they going to do with Discover? Well, they've been slowly moving their cards over. Now, if you get a Capital One Quicksilver card, it will now be on the Discover network, which is fairly good domestically. They always say, you can use it 99% of places in America. When you go overseas, that's still a little bit of an issue. Using a Discover card is probably riskier than using an American Express card. And what I mean by that is that a lot of international providers don't really support the Discover network, so just bring a Visa or MasterCard and you'll be safe. But as Discover and Capital One can make the Discover network more widely used overseas, they could become a much larger player in the game. But specifically, let's look at the Quicksilver. It's moving to the Discover network, getting 3% cash back on gas and grocery, and 1.5% cash back everywhere else. What card does that remind you of? Oh yeah, the Chase Freedom Unlimited gives you 1.5x Chase points on everything, and also 3x on dining and 3x on pharmacy instead of grocery. But gas and grocery for the Quicksilver versus dining and pharmacy for the Chase Freedom Unlimited. Is the Quicksilver now better than the Chase Freedom Unlimited? Well, I know it's jumbling up the words there for a second, and technically Quicksilver is just cashback right now. But as we see the wheels turning, is the Quicksilver going to start earning venture miles? I think that's kind of where we're headed here. So you can have either the Quicksilver as your free catch-all to earn 1.5x, or if you want to pay the $95, you have the Venture or $3.95 for the Venture X. Put that with the Saver, and maybe you just add on the Quicksilver just for gas. You're starting to build a brand new Capital One trifecta or duo or quadfecta, depending on what cards you want. And then if the Discover It card now becomes venture mile earning capabilities, which again, we don't know for sure if that's going to happen, but it might. Next thing you know, the Chase trifecta, Capital One trifecta, which one's even better? Now, Chase has much better transfer partners than Capital One, so even though Capital One is really focusing on the Discover network, I'd love to see them add, one or two transfer partners, maybe have one or two better transfer ratios. But when it comes to pure earnings, Chase has always lagged behind, and now maybe with this news of Capital One and Discover making these moves, they might have better earning potential than Chase cards, which is kind of crazy to say. Now, Capital One has had a very competitive shopping portal that people can kind of use and abuse. So some people might say that Capital One already has better earning categories. And some people might say, hey, Kirby, you're taking this a step too far. Yeah, the cards are moving to the Discover network. That doesn't mean they're all going to earn venture miles. And that's fair. This isn't something that's like 100% true. But if Capital One makes those moves, that just makes them way more competitive in the credit card space. Now, for me personally, I am planning on downgrading my Venture card to the Venture One, but if there comes a time and place where Capital One can really get their act together, I already have 2 of their cards, and it might be a nice setup to have. Now, like I said, I kind of am all in on the Built Palladium this year. we'll see how that goes. But by the time a lot of my ideas might actually happen, if they do happen, again, I'm not some all-seeing eye or whatever, maybe I'll have to give Capital One a look. Like I said, I kind of like the simplicity of the built Palladium. I'll be finishing up one sign-up bonus here at the end of the week, and then I have about $1,500 on another sign-up bonus. I know I keep saying I'm not going to work two at the same time, but there's been too many great offers. I am taking a break for a little while. I promise. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. I'll be putting most of my spend on the built Palladium card, and then maybe the Amex screen for dining, just because I want to boost some Amex points. But really, Capital One is a potential great issuer in the future. Right now, if you have a Venture X and like Capital One Saver, like that's a great duo and you're rocking that, you're rocking that. But for me personally, I kind of had dismissed Capital One. I know I'm not going to jump right back on the bandwagon just because of some ideas I have, but it's really making me truly consider what Capital One might look like in the future if they continue to be trending in the right direction. I think it's going to take some time, and I don't expect, all of their cards to move to the Discover Network next month. I even think the Venture X will probably stay a Visa Infinite forever just because there are some certain protections there, and Discover doesn't really have like a Visa Infinite equivalent yet, so that one might take a little while. But if you can build like a good Capital One Discover Network, bundle of cards, it just adds more competition to the game. Will I actually use it? Probably not, to be honest. But if that makes Chase decide to make their Chase Freedom Unlimited a 2X card, or that makes Amex have to do something better, I think that's what competition is truly about. We live in a free market society, God bless. So at the end of the day, Capital One being a better issuer and having more competitive cards just means that in the grand scheme of the credit card space, that makes things a little bit better. And to be honest, I just wanted to put some good news out there, even if it's maybe partly a pipe dream in my brain, because most credit card news tends to suck or be controversial, where I just think Capital One is chugging along. If they can nail some better like overseas use cases of Discover and then make their cards better in the process, hey, maybe Citi, Chase, Amex, maybe they have something to worry about. Probably not, but hey, a boy can dream. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of this news with Capital One, Discover. What do you think of these new Quicksilver changes? Are they going to make changes to any of their other cards? Is the Capital One Platinum card going to become a good card? Because I think that card's kind of useless right now. But hey, maybe it'll be part of a new 5-card credit card setup from Capital One. Who knows? Probably not. But like I said, would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. And if you enjoy the videos I make, make sure you to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. And if you love me a lot, maybe become a channel member to have a ton of awesome members-only content coming in the future. Gonna get a little spicier on there, say some things I don't want on the main channel. But most importantly, have a great rest of your day.